Hi, everyone. Today is Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. My name is Gayle. I am a recovered Al-Anon and will be leading this meeting. We want to welcome everyone to our Al-Anon Big Book Recovery meeting. This is a step speaker meeting that meets every Wednesday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will study the 12 steps by using the precise instructions out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous as they relate to us as Al-Anons. Let's get our meeting started. This is the original AA preamble written by the AA Grapevine describing the fellowship in 1940. We study the preamble with an open mind and open heart to consider how it applies to Al-Anon. This helps us to stay focused on the message of recovery the pioneers intended while observing the traditions in action. Through the actions taken based on the instructions of the basic text, we comprehend what the pioneers meant when they described the membership of AA, which is that they worked a program of recovery and they no longer drank. In our case, we no longer obsess over the alcoholic. Through continuous action and study of these principles, the understanding of the value of the original preamble reveals itself. We ask for your humble consideration of our sincere admiration of the pioneers of Alcoholics Anonymous. The simple hope is that we of Al-Anon will grow into some clarity and unity that birthed the original 12-step fellowship, because without them, after all, none of us would be here. The original AA preamble. We are gathered here because we are faced with the fact that we are powerless over alcohol and unable to do anything about it without the help of a power greater than ourselves. We feel that each person's religious views, if any, are his own affair. The simple purpose of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is to show what may be done to enlist the aid of a power greater than ourselves, regardless of what our individual conception of that power may be. In order to form a habit of depending upon and referring all we do to that power, we must first apply ourselves with some diligence. By often repeating these acts, they become habitual, and the help rendered becomes natural to us. We have come to know that, as alcoholics, we suffer from a serious disease for which medicine has no cure. Our condition may be the result of an allergy, which makes us different from the other people. It has never been permanently cured by any treatment with which we are familiar. The only relief we have to offer is absolute abstinence, the second meaning of AA. There are no dues or fees. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. Each member squares his debt by helping others to recover. An Alcoholics Anonymous member is an alcoholic who, through the application of and adherence to the AA program, has forsworn the use of any and all alcoholic beverages in any form. The moment he takes so much as a drop of beer, wine, spirits, or any other liquid containing alcohol, he automatically loses all status as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. AA is not interested in sobering up drunks who are not sincere in their desire to stay sober for all time. Not being reformers, we offer our experience only to those who want it. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree, on which we can join in harmonious action. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed the program. Those who do not recover are people who will not or simply cannot give themselves to the simple program. Now, you may like our program or you may not, but the simple fact remains that it works and, we believe, is our only chance to recover. There is a vast amount of fun included in the AA fellowship. Some people might be shocked at our seemingly worldliness and levity, but just underneath there lies a deadly earnestness and a full realization that we must put first things first. And with each of us, the first thing is the solution to our alcoholic problem. To drink is to die. Faith must work 24 hours a day in and through us, or we perish. In order to set our tone for this meeting, I ask that we bow our heads in a few moments of silent prayer and meditation, followed by the Serenity Prayer. Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, not mine, be done. I wish to remind you that whatever is said at this meeting expresses our own individual opinion as of today and as of up to this moment. We do not speak for AA as a whole, and you are free to agree or disagree as you see fit. In fact, it is suggested that you pay no attention to anything which may not be reconciled with what is in the AA Big Book. If you don't have a big book, it is time that you bought one. Read it, study it, live it. Follow the directions in it and learn what it means to be an AA. End of preamble. A sponsor is anyone who has had a psychic change as a result of working the steps and has the willingness to work with others. For those looking for a sponsor to guide them through the steps, please stay tuned and have your pens ready to record phone numbers immediately after the meeting. Each Al-Anon group ought to be a spiritual entity having but one primary purpose, that of carrying the message to the Al-Anon who still suffers. This is our primary spiritual aim. Our job as a group is to provide people with a place to learn about and work the steps. It has been our experience that working the steps consistently provides us with a better, saner life. We consider all else to be an outside issue. This includes personal problems. The proper venue for sharing such problems is with a sponsor. This is, after all, where real recovery takes place in working the steps with a sponsor. We are just so glad we are all here, and we are all here because we are not all there. There will be a period of fellowship after the meeting. If you have questions, if you need a sponsor, if you need to check in or get current, or if you want to discuss other literature, please stick around for the fellowship. That would be a better time for these subjects. Okay, last week we went over steps 4, 5, and 6. So if you have your books, let's turn to page 59. And I'm going to go over those steps again. So step 4 says, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. At last week's meeting, we discussed step 4. This was a time where we needed to reflect and do a lot of soul searching. So during the soul searching, we needed to think about our resentments, our fears, and our own sex conduct. When you think about your past life and you think about everything that pertains to that, it's a lot. At this part of our journey into the steps, we really have to dig deep down inside of ourselves to get all of this out. And we're thinking about our entire past, right? We are searching, and then it says a fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So we do have to go back to the beginning, when it all started. And we had to do that moral inventory of ourselves. We weren't thinking about somebody else. We weren't thinking about or how we blame the alcoholic or for all of our other actions, right? We're doing a moral inventory of ourselves. I like the word fearless in the step. Having a fearless moral inventory of ourselves. A lot of our actions prior to this is based on fear. Now we had to become fearless and just write it down, just get it down on paper. So let's stay on that same page and we're going to read 5. And it says, excuse me, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact natures of our wrong. So at this point, we're not thinking about faith per se. We're thinking about a higher power, something higher than ourselves, right? So what we're doing here is we are admitting to God the exact nature of our wrongs. Then while doing this, we're admitting to ourselves that we did wrongs, right? And that we are turning those over, and we're just admitting to Him all of those wrongs. And by working with a sponsor, we're admitting to that other human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Our sponsor is there to guide us through this. That sponsor has been through these steps. They have been working with sponsees, so they know how to guide us through this. And having that spirituality with God, our higher power, this is how we're going to get through this step. The step takes a lot of humility because we're not pointing fingers at anyone. We're not blaming others anymore. We're admitting to ourselves the exact nature of our wrongs. So now let's go down to step 6. And it says we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So here's our spirituality and our new relationship with our higher power. So we're asking our higher power to remove all of these defects of character, right? And having to face all of that, God could remove and is willing to remove all of that and all of those character defects. We are free. We have a new life. We have a new relationship with our higher power. This part, when we are ready, is a vital part of our new way of life. We are taking everything to God as we know Him. He is our guide in life. We are not depending on ourselves anymore. We are not living to get our way anymore. We are learning to live with our higher power, guiding us through everything. This is our new way of life. And by having Him remove all of that past, all of that, everything that, all those defects that we've gone through over and over and over again, we have a new freedom that we've never felt before. So now we're going to go on to, we're going to do step 7, 8, and 9, now that we've reviewed last week's. And we're going to stay on that same page, and we're going to read step 7. And step 7 says, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. So step 7 is all about humility, right? We obviously have had a lot of shortcomings. We admitted that we were powerless, that our Al-Anon behavior is something that we can't manage on our own, right? So step 7 has to do with humility. The Big Book shows us a realistic perspective of ourselves and shows us that we have flaws and shortcomings. So up until now, we are reflecting on what we have learned so far. We also have a better and different relationship with our higher power. The relationship is closer because we're turning to Him for everything that we do. It's not about us anymore. We also have a different perspective of ourselves. We are coming to the realization that we can't do without our higher power. We can't do it. Before, we were just depending on ourselves and our thought process for our everyday lives, which we have come to discover was not working. Now we have a higher power, and now we have admitted our shortcomings, and now we have given it to Him. And now we are asking Him to remove it. Again, this step is about humility. All right, let's turn to page 76, and we are going to read that second paragraph. And it says, when ready, we say something like this: my Creator, I am now willing that You should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that You now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to You and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have now completed step 7. Here we have the resentment prayer. This is something that's going to be part of our daily lives going forward. Learning about the word humility, and we are accepting our flaws. We're now accepting our new way of life and how we're going to use that way of life to live every day. And most of all, we are putting our pride aside. And in our Al-Anon ways, it is hard to admit our shortcomings. And we were very, very prideful. But now you are connected to your higher power. He has all of you, good and bad. He is removing your character defects. And from now on, we will be doing his bidding. Our way of thinking is gone. Our old way of thinking is gone. Our crazy thoughts that we could control everything is gone. In step 7, we're asking him to remove all of that. We are asking him to guide us. It's going to be guiding us through our daily lives. What a new way of thinking about things. Throughout our life, we made things so difficult. We made everything was about us. Now we ask our Creator to give us strength. He is removing every single character defect. Now we have him in our lives. And it's a new spiritual experience, a new closeness, a new relationship to that higher power. And again, as long as we're putting the work in, as long as we're following the steps, there is a solution. So let's turn to page 75. Let's not turn to page 75. One moment. So we're going to, let's see here. Okay, so we're going to go to that second paragraph on 75. And it says, we pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we take this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had a certain spiritual belief, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. So here we're removing, again in step 7, we're removing all of the character defects from our past. Everything from our past up until this point we are getting rid of. We are no longer holding on to it. We are having the humility to ask our higher power to remove it from us. We are free from all of that. So we have a sense of peace and ease about us. And for most of us, this is a whole new experience. We are so much closer to our higher power. We have a closeness to him that we cannot now call a spiritual experience. As I stated in the steps that we have taken, we are cleaning the slate. And we are going to work daily with our higher power to keep that slate clean. So from this point on, our spiritual experience will begin. We will experience spirituality like we've never experienced before. We will keep God into all of our choices into our daily lives, and we will turn to our higher power with all of our daily choices and experiences. People around us will begin to see in a different person. We won't be arguing anymore because we're reflecting on ourselves more than we are about that situation or that person or what other things that are around us. That's none of our business anymore. What is our business is ourselves, and this is something that we must focus on going forward. living this way is a new freedom like you will never feel. I mean, we are changing our ways through our higher power. We are studying the book. We're working with sponsors. We now have the guidance that we needed to take us out of our Al-Anon ways. And that was obviously not working for us anymore, so here we are. And they're going to notice a new happiness in your life, and they're going to notice a change. And that's something that is very invigorating. All right, so let's go back to page 59. And we are going to read step 8. And step 8 reads, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So now we had to choose from our list all the people that we have harmed and who have I harmed and how did I harm them. And at this point, we have to become willing to make amends to them all, right? So what have we done so far? We admitted that we were powerless. We admitted that there was a higher power. We gave it to him in our lives, our will in our lives. And then we made a moral inventory of ourselves. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being of our shortcomings. At this point, we were ready to ask God to remove all of our shortcomings. Then we asked God to remove all those shortcomings and character defects. Now we're at the point in our journey that we are going to make a list of all those people that we harmed. And we were admitting our Al-Anon ways in the past of those people that we harmed. And it's a new perspective. It's a new way of thinking for us Al-Anons. It's something that, I mean, if you think about the past, all the pointing of fingers and the manipulation that we did, now we're not thinking about that anymore. We're thinking about ourselves. Let's go to page 76 again. And we are going to read that third paragraph. And it says, now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all the persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. Again, we're talking about steps 4, 5, and 6, right? After we've gone through the steps 4, 5, and 6, we have that. That list is right in front of us. The big book promises a solution as long as we put in the work. So we made that list of the people that we have harmed. So at this point, the steps, we have to be willing to make amends to those people that we have harmed. We have this list that we made. We looked at ourselves for the inventory of our self-appraisal. And that's a very big word because it's not about the alcoholic. It's not about the other people. It's now about our self-appraisal. So now we need to make amends. Now we need to sweep away the debris and make amends on our past. We have to do this in order for us to move on. This was the only way that we were going to get through the steps. Again, I say this, that the personal journey that we need to take. And we've already said that we're going to put in the work. And that last sentence says, Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. And when we did go through any lengths for victory over our Al-Anon behavior, we were going to have that solution. So for so long in our Al-Anon lives, we blamed the other people, right? We blamed the situations. We blamed everything on everybody but ourselves. This was our way of life. This was something that we just did. And we always thought we were right. We always thought that, our broken minds just accepted that, and that was the way it was. How hard of a life that was. So at this point in our STEP program, we are focused on us. When you're going through that list, you're looking at those situations and you're looking at the harm that you have caused, right? And with the guidance of your sponsor, you have come to that point. You've come to the point where you're not pointing fingers anymore. You are no longer angry, because at this point you have the humility, and there's that word humility, to look at those situations and those people or whatever else is going on in your life, and you think about your inventory. And by ending this part of you, all of those situations are going to be different. You're going to look at it differently. Somebody might get mad at you. Somebody might accuse you of something that you didn't do. Somebody might say bad things to you. But at this point, that's none of our business anymore, right? Our business is ourselves. It's our actions. It's how we handle those situations. With the help of our higher power and our sponsor, we're going to face up to that on a daily basis. We now have a new way of thinking, and by cleaning that slate, we're starting fresh, and we're starting all over again. And that's an amazing feeling. That's a huge boulder lifted off of our shoulders. All of our lives trying to control every situation and doing it to a point to where we're like crazy, right? And now we have this new amazing way of life. We have this new relationship with our higher power, and a new relationship even with the people around us, because we're thinking about it from a different perspective now. We're not thinking about, them and their actions. We're thinking about us. What an amazing feeling. And it's something that actually makes me very, very emotional, because it's an amazing feeling. Okay, so let's go back to page 59. And we're going to go to step 9. So step 9 says, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So we talked about humility in the previous discussion. Now this is the amends that we're going to be making is really hard to admit when we were wrong, right? But as we're going through this, it becomes easier. You become fearful of going to that person, and it was hard for us to look at somebody and say, I was wrong. I mean, with our past life, that was very difficult. And that was just our way of thinking. Now we have to make a direct amends to those people. We have to face them and apologize for our actions. We had to apologize for our way of thinking, which is obviously very warped. And we had this warped sense of thinking that our way was the best way. And by doing this and by thinking like this, we were harming a lot of people around us. So what we're doing now is we are facing those people, and we are admitting our character defects, and then we're asking them how we can make it right. And again, a lot of things that one might say is, well, in our old way of thinking, we blamed everybody else. And it may have been caused by somebody else, but our interaction with that person, because the way they feel and the way they think, that's none of our business. But by interacting with them and by trying to control or manipulate and do that part, it was us. It was us, our Al-Anon behavior. and again, a new freedom. So now let's turn to page 83. And then we're going to go to the third paragraph. And it says, there may be wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. And there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. So what we've learned so far is that our spiritual life is something that we must live on a daily basis. And we don't push our religious beliefs onto anybody, right? That's something that we've learned. We don't talk about our religious beliefs if somebody doesn't want to hear it. By living the spiritual life, we show them our new way of life versus telling them or showing them. So there might be some wrongs that we've done in the past that we cannot, we can't fix. And so there may be situations or just something that we can't do it. So part of that process is admitting it. And then there's some instances where we just can't do it. So what we're going to do is, and there's sometimes that we can't do it face to face. And in some cases, we would write a letter. And there may be reasons why we can't do these amends right away, but we must think about the reason why we're doing it and make sure that it is for the right reason. We don't want to not make amends out of fear, right? That's all put aside. So we, if it's out of fear, then we need to do it. So at this point, we're going to go to our people on our list, and we're going to ask them to forgive us. We're going to tell them what our character defects were. And then we're going to ask them what we could do to make things right. We're going to do it face-to-face. Most of them are going to be done face-to-face. And looking at that person now is totally different. Before looking at this person, you had a lot of different feelings about those situations. Now you're looking at this person with humility, and you're humbling yourself to look at them and ask them for forgiveness. Again, it doesn't matter who started it. It was your participation. That's the whole thing. And I say again, it's our new way of life. It's a new way of thinking. So you are set free from all of the past way of thinking that was broken. Now you have a new guidance in your life, and that was your higher power and your sponsor. It's a whole new way of thinking. Another thing to think about, too, is that sponsor is being guided by their higher power. And so it's, like I said, it's a whole new way of life. And you're going to experience a whole new peace in your life. Imagine having a relationship with people around you in this way and not the way before Al-Anon, right? So let's stay on that same page, 83, and we're going to go to that bottom paragraph. It says, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic security will leave us. Insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Whoa, that is a powerful paragraph. To have this freedom and release something that we haven't experienced before. Sure, we have had our highs and lows in life, but we are at a point in our steps now where we have released it. We have come to accept our shortcomings, and now we're releasing it by going to the people that have wronged us and or that we have wronged and asking for forgiveness. In the Al-Anon mind, before going through these steps, we were selfish. Now we're at the point where we don't want to do selfish things. We want to have relationships. We want to help people. No more self-seeking, no more manipulation, no more fighting to get people to think the way we think. We're releasing all of that, and we have a new frame of mind. A huge boulder, as I had said, has been lifted off of our shoulders. And as it says in this book, it's a freeing experience. And our relationship in the future will be different. We're going to have a whole new way of life, a whole new way of thinking about things. And we're always going to turn to our higher power. And we're always going to turn to our sponsor. We're going to keep him in our daily lives. So the last sentence states, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. There it is. We're putting it all in his hands. And through the guidance of our sponsors, we're going to have that huge relief, and we're going to have that humbling experience. So step 7 is all about humility, having the humility to look deep inside of ourselves and asking our higher power to remove our shortcomings, to remove all of those past wrongs. And in step 7, let me turn back there to the page, we were asking him to remove all of those shortcomings. It was something that was going to be lifted from us and forgiven. Step 8 was all about justice, right? We made that list of everybody that we have harmed, and then we came to the point where we were willing to make amends. We were making amends for everything that we now understood was harmful. It was hurtful. So in step 9, that was about forgiveness. We were making direct amends to those people that we could and admitted our shortcomings and asking them what we could do to make it better. These part of our steps are now what's going to keep us in this way of thinking. It was our new spirituality. There's a lot of difference once you get to step 9, and then we're going to be going through 10, 11, and 12 next week. But when you get through step 9, you think about when you started with step 1, what your frame of mind was. I mean, we were so desperate that we reached out and we found this program through, I'm sure, with the guidance of God. And but our frame of mind at that time, you know, if you think about it. And then as we started going through the steps, going through step 1, well, obviously for here, we admitted we were powerless. And then you started progressively going through the steps, and you have this different frame of mind now, because now, before we were always talking about them, right? Now we're talking about us. We're talking about our way of thinking and what we have done in our past. And I say this over and over again, but I really believe that it's very, very important for us to think about that, step. So now let's turn to a page. Let me find it. Hold on. We're going to go to page. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on. We're going to go to page 83 again. And I've read the second paragraph and the last paragraph. Now I'm going to read that middle paragraph in there. Nope, I already read that one. We're going to go to the bottom paragraph. Let's see here. Okay, I'm a little lost. Let me get there real quick. Hold on just a second. Okay, so let's just reflect and so like I said, at this point we started at step 1 and now we've gone through step 9 and now we have a new way of thinking. Next week we're going to be talking about steps 10, 11, and 12, and this is going to be about keeping that slate clean every day, something that we do on a daily basis. And this is a new, we've already got that new way of feeling. We've gone through step 9. We've cleaned our slate. Now we're going to keep it clean. So with that, that's all I have on steps 7, 8, and 9. So I am going to start closing the meeting. So it says, 7th tradition, every group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. This group does not have a payment structure in place and currently requires no overhead expenses. If you would like to fulfill Tradition 7, please direct contributions directly to Al-Anon World Service Office by visiting alanon.org. For questions about this meeting, or if you are looking for a sponsor, please send emails to alanombigbookrecovery@gmail.com. Recordings can be accessed on YouTube by searching at Al-Anon Step Speaker in the YouTube search box. If you are interested in other Al-Anon meetings that follow the Big Book, please visit www.alanonbigbooksolutiongroup.org. Our reading from the Big Book on page 164. And our Big Book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your house is in order. But you obviously cannot transmit something if you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass, and for countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Now let's have a moment of silence for the Al-Anon who still suffers, followed by the Lord's Prayer, or a prayer of your own choosing, said in silence. Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.